Hey there, friends. Before we dive in, I just want to invite you to join us on this fascinating journey through Egypt's rich and mysterious past. If you want to see more stories like this, please support us by subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment. Your support means the world to us, and it helps keep these stories alive for everyone. So don't forget, subscribe, like, and comment to stay connected and never miss an adventure. Thank you for being here with us. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. Imagine a powerful woman who stood up to vast empires, seduced mighty generals, and even challenged death to protect her people. Now picture someone who more than 2,000 years after her death is still remembered as one of the most captivating figures in history. Today you're going to discover how Cleopatra wasn't just a queen, she was a legend. If you're one of those people fascinated by ancient Egypt's hidden stories, then you're in for a treat. Because today we'll uncover Cleopatra's dramatic escape, her brilliance, and the untold detail that changed how we see this extraordinary woman. This helps us keep bringing you stories filled with secrets, twists, and unforgettable characters. Cleopatra was born around 69 BC in Alexandria, the intellectual capital of the ancient world. She came from the Ptolemaic dynasty which had ruled Egypt since the time of Alexander the Great. But Cleopatra didn't just inherit power, she earned it. She learned to speak Egyptian, unlike her Greek ancestors, and embraced Egyptian culture. When her father Ptolemy XII died, Cleopatra ascended to the throne with her younger brother. But their co-rule quickly turned into a rivalry, and Cleopatra was forced into exile. That was only the beginning. She wasn't going to disappear quietly. No, this was the start of a queen's legend, a queen who would challenge Rome, captivate the most powerful men of her time, and fight to save Egypt. She didn't just wait around. Cleopatra roamed Egypt's deserts, formed alliances, gathered military support, and bided her time until she could reclaim her throne. Her chance came in 48 BC when Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt to mediate the dispute between her and her brother. But Cleopatra knew political arguments weren't enough. She wanted Caesar's trust. And so, one of the most iconic scenes in ancient history unfolded. Cleopatra had herself smuggled into Caesar's quarters wrapped inside a rug. When he unrolled it, there she stood, bold, stunning, and ready to make her case. Historians like Plutarch describe that moment as a brilliant move. She knew brute force wouldn't win her throne, but clever strategy could, and it worked. Caesar was a tough man to impress. But Cleopatra wasn't just beautiful. She was smart, multilingual, deeply educated in philosophy, astronomy, and politics. She had a clear vision for Egypt's future. With Caesar's help, she defeated her brother in a civil war, famously at the Battle of the Nile. Her brother drowned while trying to escape, and Cleopatra reclaimed her throne, now ruling officially with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, who was essentially just a figurehead. Soon after, Cleopatra gave birth to a son, Caesarion, believed to be Julius Caesar's child. But this wasn't just about romance. It was a calculated political move. Caesarion represented a blood tie between Egypt and Rome. If Caesar recognized him, Egypt's future could be tied to the world's most powerful empire. Now imagine Rome's reaction. Caesar had a son with a foreign queen. Cleopatra wasn't exactly popular. She couldn't afford mistakes, and every move she made had serious consequences. It seemed like Cleopatra had it all: power, a son, and a new golden age for Egypt. But as always, fate had other plans. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated by Roman senators. The news sent shockwaves through Rome and through Egypt. Cleopatra knew she and Caesarion were in danger. She returned to Egypt and ruled with her toddler son by her side. Her survival now depended on new alliances. Enter Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man and one of the three rulers of Rome after Caesar's death. When Cleopatra didn't answer his summons to Tarsus, she made her move. She sailed in on a luxurious ship, dressed as the goddess Isis, with perfume in the air and music playing. Antony, famous for his love of art and wine, was spellbound. But beyond the attraction, they formed a powerful political partnership. Antony would later use Egyptian gold to fund his military campaigns. Together, Cleopatra and Antony became the talk of the empire. She gave him 3 children, and they ruled from Egypt like pharaohs. But, Rome was scandalized. People accused Antony of abandoning Roman values and falling under Cleopatra's spell. In 34 BC, Antony publicly named Caesarion King of Kings and divided eastern lands among his and Cleopatra's children. This act, known as the Donations of Alexandria, was the last straw. Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, and future Emperor Augustus declared war, not against Egypt, but against Cleopatra personally. She was painted as a foreign seductress who corrupted a Roman leader. The world held its breath as war loomed. Cleopatra and Antony assembled a vast fleet. In 31 BC, at the famous Battle of Actium off the coast of Greece, their forces clashed with Octavian's. Cleopatra was no passive queen. Ancient sources say she led part of the naval forces herself. But as the battle turned against them, Cleopatra fled. Antony saw her ship retreating, and he followed her, abandoning the battle. That moment it really sealed their defeat. Octavian pressed forward. Alexandria fell. Cleopatra and Antony knew the end was near, but they still hoped to save their children and their legacy. Antony took his own life, reportedly dying in Cleopatra's arms, a scene of deep tragedy. Now cornered, Cleopatra was faced with her final test. Octavian planned to take her to Rome in chains, to parade her as a war trophy. But Cleopatra refused to be humiliated. A goddess does not become a slave. Using her wits one last time, Cleopatra convinced Octavian to let her prepare Antony's funeral. During that brief window she made her final choice. She dressed as a queen, adorned in her finest jewels, and lay in her tomb with 2 loyal servants. The stories say she allowed a poisonous asp, a sacred Egyptian snake, to bite her. Others suggest she used a toxic ointment or hidden pin. Whatever the method, she chose death with dignity. When Octavian found out, he was furious, but also impressed. Even in death, Cleopatra kept her pride. With her passing, Egypt became a Roman province. The age of the pharaohs was over. Caesarion, Cleopatra's son, was captured and executed by Octavian's orders. Her children with Antony were taken to Rome to live under surveillance. The ancient world, which had seen the rise and fall of countless empires, had just witnessed the fall of its last Egyptian queen. So why do we still remember Cleopatra when so many other kings and queens have been forgotten? Because she wasn't just a ruler, she was a symbol of strength, of intelligence, of feminine power in a male-dominated world. Her death didn't erase her story. It started her legend. Over the centuries, her name has echoed through literature, art, theatre and film. She's been seen as a temptress, a goddess, a warrior, a queen. She reflects everything the world admires and fears in a powerful woman. Modern scholars like Joyce Tildesley describe her not as a myth or a Hollywood fantasy, but as a real leader who faced real threats and did everything she could to protect her people. Now it's your turn. If you were in her place, would you